Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about issue number 19 of X-Men from the Ashes, written by Jed MacKay and art by Emilio Laso. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. Now up to this point, with enemies such as 3K emerging from around the world, the X-Men stationed in Alaska aren't the only mutants with targets on their backs. While the futures of Cyclops, his team, and their old foe Cassandra Nova remain unknown, elsewhere, the mutant Revelation, Warlock, and Babe prepare to confront a destiny of their own redesign. And if you want to see what led Cypher to become Revelation, you can check that out in this playlist listed above. But anyway, this issue opens in with Cypher sitting in a vat with a narrator saying, "For centuries, I have believed that methods were the only way forward for mutant kind. That I could become mutant kind's great monster in the darkness, driving the species forward through fear and might. You have lost much, Douglas Ramsey. And death can be a passage towards rebirth." And with that said, in the Pacific Northwest, Revelation woke up in a bed, and as he sat up, he went on to say, "Behold my heir, behold Revelation." Following that, Bay awoke from her sleep, beside him, and asked if he had the dreams again, to which Revelation replied by saying, "Yeah, same as every night. Apocalypse's technology took my body apart and pieced it back together according to his design. I hadn't thought about how he'd left his mark on my mind though. I suppose the butterfly still dreams of the chrysalis." So as Revelation sat there, Bay spoke up and said, "The great events of our lives always leave their marks upon us. Body, mind, and soul. But I am glad that your hair grew back." Following that statement, Revelation let out a laugh and replied with, "My hair makes me feel more like me, you know? The heir of Apocalypse and the hair of Apocalypse." Now this joke was completely lost of Bay, because she stared at him in confusion. So with his joke falling flat, Warlock out of nowhere walked up and asked if Doug was well. To which Revelation answered his old friend by saying, "My wife threw me out a window. She thought the argument could be made that I had it coming." Now this prompted Warlock to ask Revelation, "Is Soul Friend essaying further experiments with humor?" And before he could answer, Bay started to walk down the steps and said, "I believe he is Warlock. It can be hard to tell though, as it elicits a level of pain one rarely associates with humor." And then she tossed his clothes at him and continued to say, "Clothe yourself, husband, we have work to do." So with all that established, we then jump ahead to all of them sitting at their table enjoying breakfast while Revelation rehashes everything up to this point by saying, "Okay, so when Apocalypse transformed me into Revelation, it was to take on his mission, survival of the fittest. Part of that was elevating me to what he considered fit. Hence the extreme glow up. As an example picked randomly and no particular reason, I could survive being thrown out of a window by the cruel and unreasonable, yet stunning, woman I married. As well as various baked good projectiles thrown at me by the same. But more to the point, my mutant power received the same upgrade." And that was when Bay chimed in and said, "You speak with the authority of Apocalypse himself, you command obedience from all minds who can listen." Then Warlock added that Doug has administrator access to all thinking minds. So with that explained, Revelation then went on to say, essentially yes. My linguistic mutant power is now input and output. That's how it feels. I'm just hacking minds with language the same way I used to hack computers with code. Which varies with its serious ethical considerations. It's the kind of thing Charles used to do all the time. And every time he crossed a line, he justified it to himself. Which made it easier to cross the next, even more fraught line. We need to be good, or we're nothing. I still believe that. The first thing Apocalypse said to me after he changed me was rise and meet your first disciples. But he was wrong. You're not my disciples. You're my family. We have a purpose we've been given, survival of the fittest. But Apocalypse never succeeded in that purpose, not in all his years. So we need a new take on a very, very old mission. What does survival of the fittest mean for our purposes? What does it look like? I used to hack computers, now I can hack people. But we have to hack the planet. So as Revelation continued to break down their new mission statement to his family, outside of his home in the shadows stood a strike team ready to move in. With that about to pop off, Revelation started to stretch and stated, "I was the least fit of the new mutants, I was the first of us to die. So judgment of what is and isn't fit, I'm not sure how to approach it, but that has to be our starting point." Then Warlock added his input by saying, "Tech arch philosophy, ideology, doctrine, dogma espouses a similar idea. But survival of the fittest in said culture is to identify the future and eliminate or repurpose." From there, Bay chimed in and said, "Warlock interpret, the Iraqi are people forged in war. Survival of the fittest is encoded into every aspect of our society. But Earth is not Morocco, and your mutants are not Iraqi. Neither mine nor Warlock's cultural interpretations of the idea are going to apply here. And at that moment, one of the members of the strike team outside stepped on one of Warlock's perimeter alarms. So with Warlock's alarm going off, Bay instantly, with no hesitation, took off and jumped out the window and started to do what she does best, and hunt. As Revelation hit the floor, he asked Warlock who the people were surrounding them. He asked if it was Orcus holdovers, Gene Nation, or members of the Sapien League. To that, Warlock answered Revelation by saying, analyzing information from perimeter sensors. Opposition is moving in patterns consistently with military training. But no recognizable equipment pattern. No identifying insignia or uniform. Enemy forces have been anonymized, 86% likelihood that the opposition forces are governmental, but with no identifying symbols? With that information in hand, Revelation knew he was up against Black Ops, but before he could act, a grenade came flying through the window and went off. The EMP explosion was enough to knock Warlock on his ass as one of the soldiers entered the room and held Revelation at gunpoint and said, "Worry about yourself. Did you really think after everything that humanity would allow an heir of apocalypse to exist? You took on his mission with open eyes, Ramsey. You deserve what's coming to you." So as Revelation sat there, he asked, "Who are you?" To which the man stated that he worked for the Office of National Emergency. Now this prompted Revelation to say, "Bull, because one doesn't send out kill squads." Now technically, Revelation was right, so the man said, "One is too soft on your type." Brass doesn't realize that we're in a state of gene war, which is why an unofficial task group of like-minded agents started up a little operation of our own. And they called it Zero. And that naming scheme didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what it meant, the number of good muties. So with Revelation guess out there, the man continued to say, "Look at you, Files were right, you are smart. Not smart enough to not make a target of yourself though." And to that Revelation looked at the man and said, "And you weren't smart enough to do your mission prep right. Put your gun to your head." Not this shocked the man as he started to obey Revelation. Then Ramsey went on to say, "You're wrong, I am Revelation and what I reveal you obey. I have a job to do, and I am not going to let you get in the way. Not one, not zero, and not anyone." And just like that, before he could pull the trigger, a massive explosion went off, and the man was completely destroyed. And in the rubble stood Revelation, telling Bay he had him and he wasn't in any real danger. So with that going down, Bay came and pissed off and said, "I understand that you are not Iraqi, I understand that violence does not come naturally to you. But this is a great work we are embarking upon. And people will die in the course of it. Some of them at your hands, like it or not. You are the heir of apocalypse. That is a title that comes with gravity. You are a power in this world now, and you must understand that. No one, not mutant or human or whatever other creatures you annoy, may be allowed to point a weapon at you and live." So with all that tension in the air, Bay grabbed hold of Revelation and gave him a massive kiss. So with the two lovers back together, Ramsey told Bay to get their things while he rebooted Warlock. And on the last page, we get a narration from Revelation saying, "We'll burn the lodge. By the time they count the bones of their own dead and finish sifting through the ashes for ours, we'll be long gone. With Zero after us, we should head north because if we're going to change the world, we could use some X-Men." And with that said, we see Revelation, Bay, and Warlock ready to re-enter the great game. With that established, I really enjoyed this issue as well, because I was wondering what they were planning on doing with Cypher after the Heir of Apocalypse miniseries that kicked off this age of X-Men. And I'm happy they decided to make Cypher remain acting like himself. Because I really was hesitant that they were going to make him super serious and evil for no reason. But after this issue, my fears were put to rest as we got the version of him I wanted. And I also enjoyed and respected that he wasn't going to do the survival of the fittest thing the same way Apocalypse did. Because he even recognized that he is not the version of fit that would be considered fit in Apocalypse's original ideology. So I'm curious to see what his version will look like when everything plays out. Now down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.